Hey guys, it's Karma here, and today I will be doing my much anticipated Man of Steel review. I will give warning, this is a spoiler-filled review. There's no other way to do it. You've seen the movie, so let's just talk about it already. Superman is very close to my heart. You guys know my history with the character. My favorite superhero, bar none. Also the one that tends to get crapped on the most, and I just get nervous that he's not necessarily a character that you can adapt to this kind of audience. But they did, they succeeded. So when I first heard about a Superman movie, I mean, of course I'm elated. Who's gonna direct it? Oh. Well, who's playing Lois? Oh. Okay, well, who's the villain? I mean, the plot has to be good, right? Oh. I'm not a huge fan of Zack Snyder, sue me. Amy Adams surprised me, okay? She wasn't my first pick for Lois. She wasn't my 10th pick for Lois. I was really concerned. But the way they wrote her like they wrote Lois. She's always getting into trouble and she can't help it. And no Jimmy Olsen. That was a choice that was interesting. Telling an origin story of Superman, I'm not a fan of. I think that we all know the story, and I get it, not everyone knows it. But it's like when they reboot The Amazing Spider-Man. Loved it, but we already know he gets bitten by a radioactive spider. Like, this isn't news to us. So... But the way they did the origin story in this one gave a lot more exposure to Krypton than I have personally ever gotten exposed to. They took a lot of creative liberties, and I'll get to that later, but, you know, having Zod and then Krypton explode at the same time was a bit dramatic, and then Zod killing Jor-El was a bit dramatic. But I'm glad they tried to do something different. A little too much, though. A little too much of the Krypton I could have done without. And I did like that they gave flashbacks of Clark's life with, like, Pete and Lana in Smallville. They gave them in waves. They didn't do, like, oh, let's do 40 minutes of an origin story and then show Clark at the Daily Planet being Superman. They kind of explain to you, which is why I love Superman and which is why you guys love Superman, why he is this character, why Martha and Jonathan were so, you know, integral to the growth of who he would become one day. Henry Cavill was great as Superman. I mean... I'd be lying if I said that he didn't remind me a lot of Tom Welling. So, it's not so much of a sad day for me when I'm looking at him and I'm like, oh, he reminds me of the Clark that I knew. This movie, and this is kind of the bottom line for me, this movie was made for a 2013 audience. You have to remember that. We, as Superman fans, take a lot of crap because Superman's so easy to defeat. All you have to do is get kryptonite. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that, I would have a much more expensive camera right now. To pick someone like Zod and to not even mention kryptonite in the movie is a big, bold choice, and I think that it worked. The reason I love Superman so much is because, to me, he's the epitome of an emotional struggle as a superhero. He isn't this hip, you know, genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, or this really awesome, egotistical god with a giant hammer. So with that being said, you have to pick a villain that shows audiences that Clark does struggle. So to pick Zod, and to pretty much show Zod beating the crap out of him totally worked. Because Clark didn't get the upper hand in the movie for a long time. So people were like, oh, Clark's getting his butt kicked. Like, that's not something I've normally seen before unless there's a glowing green rock in the corner of the room. Once again, I like the direction they took the movie, but having Lois find out about Clark in like 5 minutes was... That's a lot of creative liberty, and the whole movie I was sitting there and I kept leaning over to the person I went with and I'm like, I'm struggling here, I'm struggling, because that's different. You know, it's an interesting choice, and I think that it worked. Clark needed another character to kind of bounce ideas off and stuff besides his AI father, and I never know if Jor-El translates well on screen. I could have dealt without the Codex thing. I almost felt like it was a MacGuffin, and it wasn't, but... It was kind of, because it was this plot device used to move the storyline along without actually being important. And while it was, and I don't know, Clark's DNA is always special, but to have, you know, the codex of all Kryptonians put in it was weird, and you would think that Zod would just want to defeat him anyway, then he can take over Earth. And Jor-El and Laura pissed him off, so why not just go after their son 33 years later? That should be reason enough. The elements of Superman are still there. Clark being an outcast who tries to find love and always tries to do the right thing. It was very uncharacteristic for him to kill Zod, but they showed his struggle, and he has to make sacrifices, but at the end of the day, the world will love him for it, and we'll all be better off. I was very, very happy, and it made a crap ton of money, which is great. They're working on the second one as far as I know. If you like Superman, if you like Smallville, if you don't even like Superman, but you just want to see an awesome superhero movie, you're gonna like it. I'm very interested to hear what you guys think. Let me know, and I will see you soon for more reviews. Bye!